The CBC, as it is now, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, has to die. In its place, I propose we resurrect and repurpose the Canadian Broadcast Corporation into the Canadian broadcasting communities. Well, how about we train up hundreds of thousands of Canadians to be their own broadcasters? We flip the script. We actually enable them to be able to monetize that and create their own jobs. Hey everybody, Kevin Schulteis here for another message from CHP Kevin, that's me, in regards to different ideas on how the Christian Heritage Party stands for Canadian citizens across the country. We stand and fight for freedoms for every citizen of Canada, of which that we believe has been being lost over the years. A couple days ago, I made a video called like the Canadian Creators Initiative. I was on the right idea in terms of wanting to repurpose billions of dollars that we spend into a broadcaster, our CBC, machine that we have here in Canada, government-run, machine that is kind of a one-way system where their narrative gets told from on high. Part of it was like one idea is the outright elimination of the CBC, right? Turf that, money can be better spent elsewhere. That's an easy way to just throw out something saying, hey, there's a lot bad with the CBC and turf it. But there's a lot good. There's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of jobs, a lot of personality, a lot of technique, a lot of good things about it. But even the CBC themselves are freaking out over many, many years. They've been freaking out, they've been seeing the writing on the wall too, that traditional media is dying, one-way communication is kind of dead. The newspapers, the local community newspapers have been hit kind of the hardest. National newspapers have been hit huge. TV and one-way broadcasting is going through a death cycle right now, and it needs to reinvent itself, or it's going to go the way of the dodo, as they say. And because of things like Netflix and now not that TV or the content is going away. There's always content, but it's the mechanisms of delivery systems. And people aren't satisfied with literally huge amount of population being fed from one single source of information. That used to fly years and years and years ago. That is no longer the case. We have almost infinite amount of sources of information to pick from. Content is still important, but the delivery method has to change. The CBC, as it is now, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, has to die. In its place, I propose we resurrect and repurpose the Canadian Broadcast Corporation into the Canadian broadcasting communities. I'm talking about from a single source, single point of information, single broadcaster, repurpose our time, energy, and money and resources, including people skills and facilities and equipment, and literally create thousands of creator stations across our great country, from sea to sea to sea, small communities, big communities, get them into as many communities as possible and have them be as training facilities, broadcast facilities, filming and or recording studios, right? For all kinds of media, for photography, for video, and for radio/podcasts. Go from a single point of corporation and flip the script. Create facilities all across Canada that actually promote good things like educating people on how the new media works, how our new economy works. If we're stuck in traditional old trades, all we can do is complain that jobs are being lost, automation is coming in, and economies are changing, jobs are leaving. manufacturers leaving. We have to be a sign of the times. Canada could be on the cutting edge of leading its people by example and equipping its people up by example to be creators themselves. The biggest industry there is in Canada is kind of small business. Small operations run by individuals make a big difference collectively. That's the majority of our economy. At the same time, though, there's no denying that traditional ways of doing things is dying, and we have to change with it. The CBC Corporation is just freaking out, and they're spending billions of dollars, and they're doubling down on the wrong direction. They're going to spend more and more money on trying to be a traditional broadcaster. The closest analogy I can think of, or the closest example I can think of, is your public library. Does your community have a public library? And this might be actually something that we double down and partner with our public libraries on. Although I'm not quite sure how that would work out, and or if there would be particular issues with local public libraries then having a Canadian Crown Corporation variant be part of that, because we would have to run by somewhat of our own rules and have it open like potentially 24/7, like all kinds of stuff. Is I'm proposing a reinventing of it from corporation to communities, and having recording studios and training studios and seminars throughout our communities in Canada to create tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of creators, which get free speech out of all kinds of varying opinions, including hundreds of opinions that you do not like, but also hundreds, if not thousands of opinions that you do like. Allows small communities and large communities to be able to find niches, to be able to talk about their own community. People complain that maybe not enough light is being brought, or not enough light's being brought on to their topics, their opinions, their concerns. Maybe stuff's going wrong or stuff's going right in their local communities. The community paper news source is kind of a dying breed. Well, how about we train up hundreds of thousands of Canadians to be their own broadcasters? How about that? And then on top of that, we actually enable them to be able to monetize that and create their own jobs. How cool would it be to have a small remote community up in wherever, maybe some of our northwest, some of our territories. How cool would it be to have a few people in that community be able to talk about their community, be able to offer training on languages, to be able to have commentary on local events or large events from their perspective, or historic documentaries. It's a change, though. They're not giant budget operations, because content is what matters. If you go onto YouTube right now, there are like literally millions of channels of people even filming with their cell phones, or at least they even started their channels with cell phones, and they slowly progress into something a little bit bigger production. In fact, sometimes they go a lot bigger production, but it's still the meat and potatoes of super low jump cut edit documentary style or live streaming. Live streaming is such a huge thing now. People are live streaming their events, live streaming their walk around town, live streaming sitting down and having discussions, and people, tens if not hundreds or thousands of people, will join in, and you build a following of who you are, who your community is, who your culture is. Why can't we flip the script from a corporation, the Canada Broadcast Corporation, and reinvent it into the Canadian broadcasting communities? Same CBC, same billions of dollars, but instead of a single point, we'll create thousands of recording studios and training centers where people can come in, learn, equip up, maybe borrow equipment. I was thinking this earlier. Maybe they borrow equipment. Maybe it is like a library. Maybe you can rent out or borrow a GoPro, learn how to film a time lapse, or like learn how to film a few things, bring it on in, and you can be taught how to then edit your own footage, and then we train you on how to create channels on all kinds of different social media platforms. And let me just get rid of this. And I'm just been editing here. Been editing the video here. One of the things I actually forgot to mention that I was thinking of as well is the CBC training facilities and the equipping stations and the community stations that I'm proposing could actually promote small business owners and big business owners, technically, to promote Canadian goods and services across our communities, across our country, across the world. So part of our training is to train up everybody. These training facilities and recording studios and whatnot would be for everybody, to get your goods and services out there more efficiently, to use our social platforms more efficiently, to get more Canadian content out there. If you need to learn how to shoot and record your videos or products and services and whatnot, we can help facilitate that. You need help in how does that, how do you make ads? How do you do things like that? We can help you with that as business owners. So if you are not just an individual, but if you are affected, if you're a business owner, you can actually vote for and get this in. You as a business owner can throw in your support behind us to the CHP party to get this initiative done across Canada. This is good for every individual to create your own jobs, to get a new wave of people into the new generation of marketing and economies, get our businesses equipped up and better able to adapt to the new situation out there, the new economy and the new world with the internet. So anyways, I just thought I'd throw that out there as well with the business owners who would radically be impressed with our centers as well and could get a ton of benefit from them, because then that benefits all of us. If you can move more goods and services across the world, that's good for you guys too. Okay, let's get back to converting the CBC into something useful here. Okay, who's to say that CBC doesn't actually, as part of this initiative, who's to say that we don't create our YouTube of Canada kind of platform? Yes, it's not as big. Yes, it'll be kind of niche. Yes, you could completely argue that it would have current bias skews. But guess what? It's no different than our current, single point of failure and are biased in our current CBC. The difference though is you've equipped up and inspired an entire multi-generations of Canadians to something greater. This is what crown corporations and this is what the government can do good. This is the power of central government. I'm not a huge power, Christian Heritage Party, and it is for minimal government. And yet, there are advantages. There are some things that a large central government can do that lots of little individuals can't, unless there is massive coordination and massive organization, and then they can invent a group or something. It builds into a movement and it can do something. Centralized government can move on things of importance. Crown corporations should do big investments into infrastructure and its people. See, this is the thing. The newly branded Canadian broadcasting communities, it is not the corporation, it is not the broadcast that is the important resource. The important resource is you. It's our community. It's the people power that is the resource. That is our best resource, and our current CBC, our current governments have been mismanaging billions and billions of dollars, and they're behind the times. So a vote for me will bring in these new ideas to be able to flip the script and reinvent a new idea, from an old idea and tweak it. It's hard to People, if I said, oh, let's squash the CBC, it's wasting billions of dollars. Let's do something else with that money. People would freak out. There'd be a huge amount of the population that has received, tidbits, and they enjoy the CBC, and there's good aspects of it without a doubt. But times are a changin'. So who's to say we don't flip the script? We still hang on to tiny pieces of our journalists and some of our kind of bigger single pieces that maybe again a crown corporation, a central government broadcaster does best. Maybe instead of trying to fill up 100% of content, we shrink that down to like 10%, make sure it's a kick butt 10%, but then we fill up and be the best platform we can be, and be a megaphone for 90% of the rest of the Canada, of all our small communities. Let individuals, good, bad, or indifferent, of varying opinions, be their own content generators, creators as we call them in the internet world, as when they become creators, they slowly become influencers, and they can influence other Canadians into a positive direction. So that's my rambling, that I needed to get out a bunch of my ideas. So the death of the Canadian Broadcast Corporation and the birth of the Canadian broadcasting communities. Same CBC, people can be repurposed. For years, we can transition our tons of our equipment and our people. Again, our people are our most valuable assets. For years, the papers have been dying, and CBC keeps growing as a single, they're picking up great people. How about these people go back into their local communities and become local content generators? Let Canada be the instigator of getting people to be their own individual papers. Yes, I understand papers are kind of dead, and it takes a bunch to kind of get papers going. We're not necessarily, but we're talking the new digital form of papers. Small little video clips, small little audio bites. How about you do that? It's easy enough to spend 5 minutes, film a few little events, cut it up, and there's your 5 little minute recap of your town's news events. You're becoming a couple of reporters, and then you get a cameraman, and then this and this. You build communities around content generation. It would be revolutionary. And I think if we as a government would get ahead of it and actually start this community initiative, that would be good. And then it becomes self-fulfilling too. That yes, we can have X amount of resources and X amount of dollars and whatnot to jumpstart everybody, give everybody the ideas, get them empowered. They can actually grow their channels, grow their brands. And if we create hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of new Canadian heroes and content creators and brand names and fun networks on different YouTube channels and Facebook and Instagram and whatever new platforms there are, if we create a wave of amazing channels, the world will enjoy us as Canadians. We document, instead of just spending billions of dollars and getting small amounts of documentation. Now we have video cameras and audio recording hundreds times more, and getting hundreds of times more leverage over a single point with the CBC as the corporation. So anyways, that's a little bit of a ramble. I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and could use your time, energy, and money, your prayers, Kevin, and your support. You can find me at chpkevin.ca, CHP Kevin on Twitter, CHP Kevin on Facebook, CHP Twitter on Instagram, and probably all the other different platforms as I get around to them. But the death of CBC as a corporation, and it reinventing and putting billions of dollars back into our local communities. Would that mean we have to get high-speed internet and more computer equipment and teaching facilities into our small communities and into our large communities? Absolutely. We actually have to really, really, really invest into, and there'd be lots of inefficiencies in getting this into our local tiny communities that are far away, because Canada is a big place. We have a ton of different people, tons of different diversity, tons of geography to traverse and overcome. But with digital and in today's technology, we are able to do that more and more efficiently than ever before. And if we get the infrastructure in place and rolled out, it's, most of it's already there. Let's enhance and let's fund it appropriately. And let's reallocate the corporation CBC into the community CBC. Talk to you guys later. And yeah, could always use your time, energy, money, your support, your love, your prayers. And if you have ideas of your own, drop them in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up. I'd love a subscribe. If you're interested in joining us for our live broadcast, we'll be doing those and setting those up in a timely fashion here soon. Can't wait to talk to you guys, and it'll be good to have you. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. If you like that video, feel free to hit that subscribe button to catch all my other videos. And as they come out, give me a thumbs up. Much appreciated. Share the video around. And of course, check out the other websites and other links down below.